How to create business process model for SME Corporation. SME Corporation is a local small-medium enterprise. The company purchases, the employee will have to pay for the items first before making a claim for payment. Small-medium enterprise corporations claim processing process is as follows. Step 1. The employee fills up an expense form detailing the items purchased and submits the form to his supervisor. Step 2. The supervisor checks whether the expenses are valid, example correct items purchased, correct amount claimed, etc. If the expenses are valid, the supervisor authorizes the expense form and submits it to the claims administrator. Otherwise, the supervisor rejects the claim and notifies the employee of the rejection. Step 3. Upon receiving the authorized expense form, the claims administrator logs the expenses into a database and makes payment for the expenses to the employee. After listening to the case study, now I will teach you how to create business process model for this case study. First, identify the business participants. Draw one swim lane for each business participant in the process model. In the case study, there are 3 business participants, namely employee, supervisor and claims administrator. Hence, we draw 3 swim lanes, one for each business participant. Next, add in the start element at the left side of the process model. In the case study, the employee is the one initiating the process. Hence, we add a start element to the left of the employee's swim lane. Next, identify the task. Add in the tasks into the process model. Take note to draw the tasks in the correct swim lane. In step 1 of the case study, the employee has to first fill out an expense form and then submit the form to his supervisor. Using the verb plus noun format, we create 2 tasks: fill out expense form and submit expense form, and put them in the employee's swim lane. Additionally, we also create 1 task: receive expense form and put it in the supervisor swim lane. Next, add sequence flow. Identify the sequence of activities and interaction between participants. Add in the sequence flows into the process model. Note that all tasks must have an arrow in and arrow out. In step 1 of the case study, the employee has to first fill out an expense form and then submit the form to his supervisor. We use arrows to signify the flow. The flow should start from the start element to the fill out expense form task in the employee's swim lane. Next, identify the business decision points. Add in the decision points into the process model. In step 2 of the case study, the supervisor has to check whether the expenses are valid. If the expenses are valid, the supervisor authorizes the expense form and submits it to the claims administrator. Otherwise, the supervisor rejects the claim and notifies the employee of the rejection. We need to add a gateway expenses valid, with 2 branches yes and no for this decision in the supervisor swim lane. Next, complete the process model by adding in all the tasks, decision points, flows and an end element at the end of each flow. Note that all flows should have an end point. Lastly, complete the process model by 1. Removing any unused swim lanes. 2. Check that all tasks have an arrow in and an arrow out. 3. Check that all decision points have arrows flowing to the next step. 4. Check that the arrows out of the decision points are labeled properly, and 5. Make sure there is one start point and all flows have an end point.
Created using Powtoon.